What's happening? Brian Tong here, and welcome to the Apple Byte for everything good and bad inside the world of Apple. And there's a whole bunch of both after Apple's iPhone event a few days ago in Cupertino. Now, last year, Tim Cook said Apple was doubling down on secrecy, but nothing could be further from the truth after every new feature, color, and model name was leaked by the rumor mills months before the event. Let's do a recap of what Apple just announced in case you missed it. Now, the iPhone 5S is here on September the 20th, starting at $199 with contract. It comes in gold, white, and space gray. I actually didn't know space had its own color of gray until yesterday. Now, you won't find a bigger screen or new design like we expected, but there's a lot of features I like under the hood with an all-new A7 64-bit processor, an industry first, but we won't really see major benefits from it in the near future. There's a new M7 co-processor that captures motion data for fitness apps, doesn't use the A7, and requires less battery power. Now, that feature doesn't affect me as much unless it can measure the size of my guns. Now, the all-new improved iSight camera remains 8 megapixels, which is a little letdown, and we know megapixels don't completely matter, but keeping it at 8 compared to what's out there, ugh. Now, there's a dual LED flash made up of one white and one amber flash, a first on a smartphone, and that's pretty sweet to give you even better photos with the flash, so I'll report back to you on how this works at the clubs. There's a new camera app with features like 120 frames per second slow-mo video and a burst mode feature for action shots that plays catch-up to other phones, but it can only be used on the iPhone 5S. Sure it can. And that's a bad Apple. And the feature they just couldn't keep a secret, which is kind of ironic since it's for security. It's the Touch ID fingerprint sensor that can be used to unlock your phone or approve purchases through the iTunes and App Stores. Now, it's just those two things for now. I'm really digging it, and there's a lot of potential here for your finger to be the password for all your apps and services, and to get people comfortable with the behavior of using your finger for transactions. But Apple won't give developers access to the feature initially, which deserves kind of a crappy Apple, but they left it open to change in the future, and really they better open it up sooner rather than later. Now, my take on the 5S is that 4S users, you're going to love it combined with iOS 7. You guys are really in heaven right now, but a lot of iPhone 5 users are let down because they really wanted a bigger screen. We already knew what to expect, and that's if you watch this show. And shame on you if you don't, even though you can't hear me shaming you. I think the jump from the iPhone 4 to the 4S was weak, and I didn't upgrade, but I'm excited about the fingerprint scanner, all the other improvements. There's actually new tech inside here, and yeah, I wish it had a bigger screen too, and you might not be in the same boat, but I'm gonna get a 5S. And can you guess what color it's going to be?
I love gold!
Oh, but no pre-orders for the 5S. Apple is going to make us wait in line, so it looks like their stores have big lines again, and that's a bad Apple. Now, I want this phone, but I don't want it that bad, so I'll just order it online on the 20th. Now, the biggest letdown from the keynote was the iPhone 5C. I'm not even its target market, but it was supposed to be the cheaper iPhone alternative. Instead, Apple showed they won't play in the low-cost space, and it's basically an iPhone 5 with the same internals and 5 fruity colors. So, here's what Johnny Ive had to say.
iPhone 5C is beautifully, unapologetically plastic.
Plastic? Did he really just say plastic? Come on. Was there like a trapdoor under Johnny's seat if he didn't say plastic? We're talking about plastic. Now, the 5C is selling for the same price the iPhone 5 would have been once a new model swooped in, $99 with a 2-year contract, $29 more bucks if you want a case with holes to show off 2 colors together. Now, this phone unlocked is $549, which is on par with other flagship phones internationally, so this is not a cheap phone. Now, I know people will get the 5C for their kids in school. I had several girlfriends, and let me make that clear, they're girls who are friends, who were excited about a colored iPhone until I told them it's not actually a new phone. And yeah, they'll sell a bunch, but this is just an iPhone 5 with a color wrapper. This isn't innovation, and this might be Apple's most deceptive phone for the general consumer. And guess what's the first thing that pops up on Apple's website? Not the 5S, which actually brings new tech to the table. It's the 5C. I'm not even throwing out a bad Apple from now on. I'm just going to call this the iPhone 5 Crapple. All right, got that out. Let's get back to the happy thoughts. And iOS 7 is really the bright spot of this event. It'll be available as a free download on September the 18th, and will be compatible as far back as the iPhone 4, iPad 2, and iPod Touch 5th generation. Now, we talked all about the features like Control Center and iTunes Radio, which Apple still says is coming soon. But you want to know about the new stuff I've found? Well, check this out. More new wallpapers like this one of Planet Earth, or maybe this cool one of the Northern Lights, or this one where winter is coming. But even better, new text tones and ringtones. Check this. They even improved the original tritone from this to this. Wow! In other new stuff coming, All Things D is reporting that we can also expect to see an Apple TV software overhaul on the 18th, the same day when iOS 7 comes out. One new feature will allow people to play content they've purchased themselves on the iTunes Store and play it back on someone else's Apple TV using AirPlay, so you can stream content you own to any Apple TV box, which is typically set up with just a single user account. And Space Gray is here to stay. Apple also announced the iPod Touch, iPod Nano, and iPod Shuffle will be available in that color. But before we move on, let's take a moment to remember the Apple products we've lost but were so good to us. All right. Now, we said we'd get to some of your impressions and emails from Apple's event, so check this out on Twitter. Dead Access says, can't wait to get a 5S. My phone isn't slow yet, but can't wait to be a Ferrari on the digital highway. Well, vroom vroom to you. Now, Mark Owens writes in with, this was the time Apple needed to wow us all back in love with the iPhone. I broke up with my iPhone 4 and haven't looked back. Tim Cook is not the leader Apple needs right now. All right, Mark, I think the days of really being wowed by any phone are gone. People want to be romanced back because Steve, he did it so well, but the reality distortion field is gone, and guess what? Reality can sometimes suck. All right, B. Whiteman asks, I was wondering with the new iPhone 5S and 5C chips and antennas, will it allow for simultaneous talk and data with Sprint and Verizon while in LTE areas? All right, now you won't like this, but the answer is still a no. We asked Apple, and they said Verizon's network tech prevents voice and data, and that it isn't a problem specific to the phone, but there are other phones that added an extra antenna to make it work, but you just won't find it here on the 5S or 5C. So there you go. Keep sending us your emails with your impressions and questions to the applebyte@cnet.com or tweet me at Brian Tong, and we'll show some of them off. Now, we'll also be doing another email episode in a couple weeks, and I want you guys to really dig deep and ask me anything, any question you have ever wondered, and we'll answer them. All right, that's going to do it for this week's show. I'm Brian Tong. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys next week for another Bite of the Apple. You talk about plastic. We sitting here, Apple's supposed to be the leader for innovation, and we in here talking about plastic? I mean, listen, we talking about plastic. Not a new iPhone, not a new iPhone, not a new iPhone. We talking about plastic. Not a phone. Not the phone that I go in line for and cry for and pay every penny I save like it's my last day. Not the iPhone. We talk about plastic, man. I mean, how silly is that? We talking plastic.